There is a certain place in my cold, dead heart for games that simulate an LSD trip while forcing you to have pinpoint accuracy, and Post Void is no different in this regard. It's an addictive, fast-paced arcade shooter that takes influence from Hotline Miami, Doom, and what I suspect is just a bit of the Backrooms lore. It's created by YCJY Games, and the best part about all of this is that you can buy this for less than the price of a coffee. I should add, this game needs a serious seizure warning because holy hell, I'm getting a headache just editing this. The game incorporates a punk rock aesthetic with an ever-changing series of fluorescent wallpapers and textures to create a game that at the very least will burn itself into the back of your retinas. If you play this game while slipping into a coma, then this is one of the more unique sleeper hits on Steam that not many people are talking about online. So, without further ado, let us begin. To start with, Post Void does a whole lot with very little. You have a gun, a glowing idol, which is your health meter, and one goal. Reach the end of the level before the idol expires completely and save the princess. Actually, I just added the last one. There's no princess.
Got him!
Killing enemies will refill the idol partially, and taking damage will drain it. But the key strategy to staying alive is to keep moving because to stop is certain death. To think about anything apart from the game is certain death. Basically, you die a lot in this game. At the end of each level, you get a choice of 3 randomly generated perks, which range from increased health and different guns to more intricate effects such as exploding enemies and bullets that bounce off walls. Some of your runs will last for 30 seconds, while others will last minutes. When you start stringing headshots together, you really start to feel like you're getting the hang of things. That's when the game will knock you down hard, taking a second to get your bearings or even find enemies you don't have to, and you're shot back to the start. And forget trying to memorize the layout, as each level is procedurally generated to keep you on your toes. Even the general game mechanics make playing this an assault on the senses. Actions like shooting your gun will create a screen-wide flashbang that makes playing at night especially grating. I mean, look at this. This is the end screen. In later levels, the environments become enemies in themselves as you explore ever more complicated and distorted corridors, with some areas being complete dead ends, depending on how the AI-generated map design favors you. Should you get turned around during a firefight, you can easily end up going in the wrong direction, which is nearly always certain death. There's a perk for navigation if you find this happening a lot, but who needs navigation, am I right?
Guys?
It's at these moments that you really feel like a rat in a maze, running through these tight claustrophobic corridors, searching for an exit. I wanted to be frustrated, but every time I would find myself restarting, thinking this time I would reach the end. It's a game that'll definitely lose a few people during the initial Everest level skill gap it requires to master, but it's a gap that really is at the core of its charm. Seeing how far you've come from that first initial 10-second attempt encourages you to keep going, and turns a quick 10-minute game into a 5-hour session. It's addictive, and it's a game that really doesn't want you to look away. When you die, it's not that the game is working against you, but it's just that you're not at the point where you're ready for the game. The actual enemy designs vary drastically, from hands with light bulbs for heads to monstrous businessmen in suits chasing you with guns. With each new level, the layers begin to add up, and by level 8 you'll have an army of strange monsters with differing abilities to keep tabs on. The speedrunning scene for this game advise using the knife, as it appears to be the cracked way to play this game. That said, you do need to learn how to use it, which is not the easiest. I do not recommend this weapon. As for the story for this game, I really couldn't give you an accurate idea of what's going on. There's just enough subliminal imagery to give it a guess, but it's more likely trying to give an impression of a lot of things and leaving it to the player to sort through for their own interpretation.
What's this? It's an art project. Okay, I like it. Picasso.
Is it a metaphorical tale about a man who rebels against the mundanity of the 9-to-5 workday as he is chased by the monstrous businessmen and demons that plague his life? Or is it simply just a tale of a doomed guy in an office losing his mind? It's completely up to interpretation, and I feel that people won't care about the slightly lackluster end, as it's mostly about the gameplay here, if we're being honest. And for 150, I don't think anyone's complaining if they're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I saw a Steam review describe this game as an interactive panic attack, and the more I think about it, I honestly couldn't think up a better description for how this game feels. It's stressful, but in a good way that makes you really want to keep playing, even though you're about to have a heart attack. It's a game I'd recommend to anyone with 10 minutes to spare and a high tolerance for external stimuli, and I think it's really worth your time. You should definitely give it a shot because it's super cheap right now, and it's just a good game. I rate it 5 stars. I don't have a rating system yet. Just go play it. Trust me, you won't regret it.